What's up guys, my name is Sifiso. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to the last video of the Malta series. But don't cry because I'm filming this the night before I fly out to Mexico for my solo backpacking trip. So there is another series literally coming to you in like 1 week's time. So make sure you hit subscribe if you want to catch Mexico. But you're not here for that. Today in this video, we will be going through my Malta, not Mexico, my Malta itinerary and a budget guide in case any of you guys are planning to do your own trip out to Malta, which I highly recommend because, spoiler alert, it was perfect. Okay, so we'll start with the itinerary and I will link below all the daily vlogs that I uploaded of Malta, just in case you guys want to watch that and add some context to what we're going to be running through. Now, the capital of Malta is Valletta, but I chose to base myself in St. Julian's because I'd heard that that's where the social scene is, that was the social capital of Malta. And since I was traveling solo, I figured that my chances of meeting people would be better in St. Julian's. And guys, they totally were. I stayed in a hostel and I met some really great people out there. Plus, the bus system, the public buses in Malta, they're so great that you can honestly base yourself anywhere and you'll still be able to get to all the key places of interest such as Mdina, Popeye Village, etc. So don't worry about where you base yourself, just sort of, it depends on who you are, what kind of vibe you're after. If you're after a party vibe, St. Julian's. If you're after something a bit quieter, then you might want to consider the other nearby towns. On my first full day in Malta, I spent a few hours in Mdina and then I finished the day off at Valletta Bay. But guys, you cannot, I repeat, you cannot go to Malta and not visit Mdina. Like it's criminal. Like I think it should be illegal. It should be a visa requirement that if you go to Malta, you visit Mdina. Mdina is a fortified city within the city of Rabat. It has so much history and I really recommend getting a guide who can add some context to what you're seeing. But even if you're not a history person, it's just such a great place to visit and look around. It truly does feel like you've gone back in time. Because it's a fortified town, the buses will take you to Rabat, and this is about as close as you can go. You then only have to walk about a 5-minute walk before you reach the gate that takes you into Mdina. So don't get confused when you're trying to search like a route there and you're like, well, nothing takes me to Mdina. They will take you to Rabat, and that's basically Mdina. After exploring Mdina, I then got a 1-hour bus back to St. Julian's and I headed down to Valletta Bay, which was only a 15-minute walk from my hostel. And guys, one thing I love about Malta is they're not trying to monetize nature, do you know what I mean? So this was free and it was just vibes. Like, it was actually just vibes. People were just sunbathing, swimming, minding their business. And I did notice that they were significantly happier than people in the UK who don't have enough sun. I spent the entirety of day 2 at Golden Bay Beach, which many people had said was the most beautiful beach in Malta. And whilst I didn't see all of Malta, of what I did see, I entirely agree. Guys, this beach was beautiful. I mean, just look at the water. Just look. It's so clean. In fact, all the water in Malta was so clean. I don't get it. Anyway, as well as all the beautiful blue water, they also offer some water sport activities here. I opted to rent a kayak for an hour and go exploring for some snorkeling spots. Later in the day, my friend from the hostel joined me and we rented this water bicycle slide thingy that you guys see here, which was much easier and far much more fun than the kayak, guys. I recommend getting to the beach at around 10, 11 or maybe even earlier just to secure yourself a nice spot before people start arriving. I got there around, I want to say I got there before 10:30 a.m. and it was perfectly fine. I was able to find a spot easily. I mean, the best spots were gone, but there were still plenty of spots available. By the time it got to about 2 p.m., it was full. It was busy. So definitely 10 a.m. or earlier if you can. On day 3, I joined a few of the girls from the hostel and we took a little girls trip to Popeye Village. Now, Popeye Village is it's a village which has a film set and, you know, film set where the Popeye films were filmed. And it also has this water area where they had inflatables. You can go snorkeling, you can rent a jet ski, and you can just have a whole bunch of fun. To be honest with you guys, I didn't think the film set was all that impressive, But I mean, you know, full transparency, I've never watched the Popeye films, so I couldn't relate to anything. And I'm also 25 years old. But yeah, I personally did not enjoy it. However, I did think the water area was a really great place to just splash around and really have fun. I have to say though, as a solo traveler, I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much by myself. What made this day enjoyable was the company that I had. And also, if I went back again, I don't think I'd go because I believe we paid 15 euros for entrance, and what we really enjoyed was the water. But you can access the water for free everywhere else in Malta. So, yeah. So on day 4, which was also my birthday, I spent the day in Valletta, and then I met up with another friend that I met at the hostel, and we spent the rest of the day together swimming in Valletta. I must say, and rather controversially, that I wasn't very impressed by Valletta. It was mostly cute shops and restaurants and cafes. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. All of Malta is absolutely beautiful. But I was just thinking that if I was tight on time, Valletta would probably be the one that I would cut out, which is so controversial because it is the capital and everybody says you have to go to Valletta, you have to go to Valletta. But for me, you have to go to Mdina, and then Valletta it's a nice, cute place to go for cute shops and cute restaurants. But also, full transparency, one of the key things to see in Valletta is a cathedral, which by the time I met up with my friend and we finished having our boozy lunch, it had shut. The cathedral had shut, so we couldn't see the inside. But even then, I just feel like it would have had to be a fantastic cathedral for me to make it my must do in Malta. And as expected, if you were watching the vlogs, we did end up finding a bay to go swimming, and we made some friends over there as well. And this was my first time diving. I failed very, very terribly and embarrassingly, but I did it. And that's what counts, guys. That's what counts. On day 5, I decided to go on an excursion to Gozo and Comino Island. Comino Island, and specifically the Blue Lagoon, it has to have the bluest and most beautiful water that I have ever seen. I mean, ever. Personally. It's just freaking beautiful. Honestly, I can't think of a single place that is quite so picture perfect. And speaking of picture perfect, it was not busy at all when we got there. And so we were able to take nice pictures and enjoy the lagoon fully without massive crowds that I know usually happen, pre-COVID times. We spent a couple of hours playing here before we headed off to our second stop to Gozo. At our stop in Gozo, we had the option to go on a group sightseeing tour or to go off on our own for the allocated time. I opted to rent a quad bike and go explore Gozo on a quad bike. And guys, you know what? This was the most expensive thing that I did in Malta, and I have zero regrets. Let me tell you that now. It was such an incredible experience, and I highly recommend it to everyone. Just make sure that you bring a valid license with you. And check if you need an international driving permit. If you're from the UK, you don't need one to drive in Malta, but other countries may do. And you should make sure you sort that out, because honestly, this was great. I imagine it's annoying for the residents in Gozo when they have to deal with newbies driving a quad bike on their main roads. But for you as a tourist, perfect. On my final night in Malta, I decided to move from St. Julian's to Masascala in the south of Malta. And this was because I decided that I wanted to spend my last day at St. Peter's Pool. And guys, this was the best decision that I made besides the decision to go to Malta. This was honestly the best decision that I made. And St. Peter's Pool was the highlight of my trip, and I truly believe that it needs to be on everyone's bucket list. You need to come to Malta just to see St. Peter's Pool. I say that. I spent the day sunbathing, I went snorkeling, and I even grew the balls to go cliff diving. This has been on my bucket list for so long. I've always said one day I'll go cliff diving, one day, and that one day was in Malta at St. Peter's Pool. And to this day, I am so proud of it, and I'm still telling anyone who will listen, I'm telling you about it. I went cliff diving in St. Peter's Pool. I will say though that nothing worth having comes easy, and honestly getting to St. Peter's Pool was a bit of a challenge. So the bus drops you off at the nearest bus station, which I'm sorry, I can't remember what the bus station was called, but that bus station is a solid 20 to 30-minute walk away from St. Peter's Pool, and there is no signage for St. Peter's Pool until you arrive at St. Peter's Pool. So you basically need to know where you're going, or just accept that you're going to get a little bit lost. You're going to have to ask people for directions as you go there. But I promise you, it is so, so worth it. One thing to bear in mind though is there are no facilities there. And thank God too, because I think if they started putting toilets and cafes and all that, it would take away from the beauty of the place. But just go there prepared. There are no toilets. There's nowhere to buy drinks. There's nowhere to buy food. Now, I only spent 6 full days in Malta, but if I had an extra day, I would have spent it in St. Thomas Bay, also in Massa Scala. A local had recommended this area to me as she said it had the best snorkeling in Malta. Obviously, I didn't go, so I can't vouch for that, but she is the local, so I bet she knows best. If you've been or you're planning to go, please come back and update us in the comments below and let us know, do we need to come back just to go to St. Thomas Bay? So that, guys, is my 1-week itinerary for Malta, which I'm really happy with. I was able to see everything that I wanted to see, as well as some extra sites such as Popeye Village. I'd never heard of it before I went to Malta, and it ended up being a nice day out. And now on to the money. Okay, I've been drinking. Now on to the money. I knew I'd come back and make this video for you guys, so I kept track of all the money that I spent out in Malta, and I'm gonna break it down for you guys into 4 categories. We have accommodation, we have transport, we have food, and we have activities. That's 4. Now, with accommodation, I decided to stay in a hostel because I was traveling by myself. Firstly, I don't trust Airbnb like that. Secondly, hostels are really great for meeting new people, and they're also really affordable. So I decided to stay in a hostel in St. Julian's, and this hostel cost about £16 a night. I shared the room with, I want to say I shared the room with 5 other people because of COVID, they had less people. Yes, I want to say 5 other people, and that cost £15 a night. On my last night, as I say, I moved from St. Julian's to Massa Scala, and in Massa Scala, I stayed in a budget hotel, which was actually really nice, and I had my own room to myself, and that cost £16 for the night. So as you can tell, the south of Malta is definitely cheaper than areas such as St. Julian's. Oh, and guys, I searched St. Julian's as I was preparing for this video, and that same hostel now charges £25 a night versus the 15 that I paid in June. And that's definitely going to be because it's now the peak summer months. But that's wild. £25 for a hostel. Now, public transportation is a dream in Malta. So the buses will take you anywhere. Anywhere you as a tourist would want to go, the buses can get you there, and they charge a fixed fee. Now, when I first got there, they were charging €1.50 to take you anywhere in Malta. And then at some point, like there's a cutoff date, some point in June, because they then started charging €2 to take you anywhere in Malta. And the other great thing is your ticket is valid maybe for 6 hours. So if you need to get somewhere and you need to take 2 or 3 buses to get there, you only pay once and it takes you all the way. And then you pay again coming back. The only time that I needed to use a taxi was when I arrived in Malta. I arrived at night. I did try to get the bus, but I couldn't work it out. And I was really tired at that stage, so I just hopped into a taxi, which they charged €20, and it was a fixed fee. So that was the only time that I felt the need to use a taxi. And in total, I spent €46 for my transport in Malta. When it comes to food and drink, I would say that these were priced averagely. So they were not noticeably expensive, but they were also not cheap. And where I was staying in St. Julian's, there were loads of places to eat. Like, you could eat at a different place every single day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There were loads of places. And I'm sure that also means that the prices are a bit higher there, just because it's obviously a hot spot versus other parts. Definitely versus south of Malta, it was definitely a lot cheaper out there. But yeah, like I say, it was just average prices. However, I do think there was potential to save money, because I remember one of the days I bought a huge slice of pizza for €2 and I wasn't even able to finish it. So if you're on a really tight budget and you don't really care what kind of diet you're eating, then you can definitely eat food really cheap in Malta. So in total, I spent £109 on food and drinks. And I have to say that most of the food I was eating was really just like normal Western food, which makes sense being that it's Malta. I can't say that I went out of my way to look for specific Maltese dishes, except for when I was in Valletta for my birthday and I decided to eat some rabbit. But yeah, other than that, I was really just eating any food that I found that was nearby. And it was £109 for the week. Now on to activities. Guys, I was so impressed by Malta. Like, I was just so impressed. I was there for a week and I didn't have a single boring day. Like, I was quite active every single day, but yet I didn't spend that much money at all. And that's because most of the stuff that there is to do in Malta is either sightseeing, which is free, shout out to them, or it involves like swimming in like natural bays, etc. And that's also free. Like, it's honestly great. You could go there and spend zero on your activities. But if you do want to spend some money, you definitely can. And I definitely did. So I went to Popeye Village and that cost €15. When I went to Mdina, instead of walking for free, I chose to go on a guided tour and that cost €25. What else did I do? Oh, I also went on an excursion, the excursion to Gozo and Comino. That cost €25 and that was really, really a good value for what you're getting. 2 stops. It was just really great value. Once we got to Gozo, there was the option to get on the tourist bus for €10. Instead, I chose to take the rented quad bike for €55, but I have zero regrets. But I'm just trying to show you guys that you can definitely do it super cheap, or you can splash out if you think you're Beyonce. So in total, I spent £119 on activities for the week. And if I hadn't gone for the quad bike and I'd done the tourist bus instead, that would have been €75 for 1 week. So in total, for 6 nights and 6 full days in Malta, guys, I spent £360. That works out to be £60 a night. £60 a night for everything, excluding international travel, but everything: accommodation, transport, food and drinks, and your activities. Personally, I thought that was a great bargain. I'm not gonna lie, especially knowing that you could definitely spend way less. I was allowing myself to have, you know, the little luxuries in life just because it was a birthday trip, but I could definitely have cut that down. Right, guys, that is it. That is my Malta travel guide. I hope you guys found that useful. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and to drop a comment below. And if you do have any questions, please put them down below and I'll do my best to answer them, or somebody who knows more will also answer below. And as I said, I am filming this the night before my trip to Mexico. My backpack is sitting right here. So make sure you subscribe so you can join me for that adventure. I'll definitely be doing some daily vlogs. And if you want to keep up in real time, head on over to my Instagram, also Sifiso Abroad. I'll see you guys next week then.